Shaq is a hypocrite. Sean is annoying, and I don't trust him at all. And I don't know why he didn't go for Helena. The Helena that he said he wanted to have chosen him. He should have gone for his Helena. I don't get that, you know? And then Belle is not playing this game very smart, in my opinion, because she should have left Sean alone. Like, Sean already kind of did you dirty the first time. You want him to do you dirty again? Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I will be talking about Love Island All Stars episode 12. I started reviewing Love Island All Stars and then I kind of fell off, but I had to talk about this episode because these people are really starting to get on my nerves. It's insane. But let me just jump right on in. So this episode starts out with the recoupling. In the previous episode, Bombshells Lucinda and Curtis entered the villa. Lucinda ended up choosing Kieran and Curtis ended up choosing Millie, okay? Now, Curtis choosing Millie was like, okay, that was expected. But Lucinda choosing Kieran, now guys, I was surprised. Not in a bad way, but you know, people in the villa were also very surprised. So we continue with the recoupling and Leanne chooses Scott. Belle chooses Sean. Whitney chooses Connor, which I was so happy about because I'm just so glad she didn't choose Jack. And then Helena chooses Tommy. And Jess chooses Jack. Sammy ends up choosing Shaq because Shaq is basically the last one left to choose. So this is what I want to start off by saying. Belle choosing Sean, in my opinion, was a massive, massive, massive mistake. I do not know what Belle was thinking. I think that Sean is a menace. So the reason I don't think this was a good decision is because I don't know if you guys remember when Belle was originally coupled up with Sean and he basically said, he told Belle that he wished that he had chosen Helena. And Belle was pissed off because he didn't even tell her directly. He ended up telling this to the boys, which is even worse. And then Belle ended up finding out from one of the guys and then talked to Sean about it, right? So what I don't like about Sean is after he tells this to Belle, he doesn't even really pursue things with Helena. Like, guys, Helena has been struggling in that villa. Let's keep it a stack. She was talking to one guy, it doesn't work. She was talking to Shaq for a while. He basically called things off. So why didn't, you know, Sean swoop in and take the girl that he wanted, which is Helena? So to me, Sean doing that, he was really trying to mess Belle about. And I don't know if he did it out of insecurity or if he was trying to kind of cut her down, but I didn't like it. And I really don't like it because even after saying that to Belle, that he wished that he had chosen, that Helena had chosen him, he didn't then even pursue Helena. So Sean is a clown, okay? And I just know that Belle is going to end up regretting this decision. I don't know how many times she has to see that Sean is an idiot. So I don't know why she did this, but I do think she made the wrong choice. I know that Shaq has anger issues, and I'm not saying that he's any better, but I do think that he was a better choice for Belle. He was a better choice. Like, Sean, no. Just no. Very disappointed by that. Okay, so we basically see that the girls are talking in the dressing room and they are so, you know, like upset about how Lucinda ended up choosing Kieran, acting like she has just violated some type of law or rule. And Belle specifically is saying she doesn't like that Lucinda did this. Whitney is the only one in this situation speaking facts. And she's basically saying that Lucinda choosing Kieran doesn't change the fact that, you know, Kieran could still end up feeling Sammy. And I'm like, exactly. Like, women, I don't get Love Island sometimes because in my mind, I'm like, you can't control people. Just because Sammy is in a couple with Kieran doesn't even mean that Kieran and Sammy are endgame. People are still allowed to do what they want. And sometimes they find better connections with other people. So Whitney is basically trying to say that just because Kieran is sleeping in Lucinda's bed doesn't mean that Kieran and Sammy might not have a better connection and can continue to grow that. This doesn't change anything. You know, and I don't understand why the other girls are not seeing it that way. Like, it's giving hypocrisy because a lot of the women that are upset, like Belle, for example, about Lucinda choosing Kieran, at one point, Belle was talking to Shaq when Belle knew that Shaq was also talking to Helena. how are you mad that somebody did something that you've done? It doesn't make any sense. Like, people are allowed to explore. That should not be a problem. Like, I don't understand. So we see basically Sammy and Lucinda get to speak, and Sammy says that they're friends on the outside. And I was like, oh, okay, that changes things a little bit. Lucinda was like, oh no, we're not friends like that. I said, oh my God. And I just tried so hard not to laugh, because the first thing that I thought was, some of these girls, the way they throw around the word friendship is mad. And Lucinda was like, oh, we're not going to play like we're friends. Like, she was like, we're not close enough that she would even call them friends, and Sammy's looking kind of surprised. And I don't know why, but guys, I like this version of Lucinda. Don't forget, Lucinda's the one that won Love Island Games not that long ago. I feel like she came into this villa with the Love Island Games mentality of just like, I'm here to do me and bombshell, and I don't give a F about anybody else. And quite frankly, I like it. So, Lucinda's just trying to tell Sammy, like, don't act like we're friends now, because I don't necessarily owe you that. And I think that that's fair, because the way people throw around the word friendship, like, please. Okay, so we see Belle basically saying that she decided not to choose Shaq in the recoupling because she didn't really think that he was good at regulating his emotions. And I don't think she really liked how he handled the situation with her trying to talk to Sean and Shaq at the same time. I understand where Belle's coming from, because Shaq didn't handle that situation well. And as Belle was talking to Sean, Belle complained about how Shaq was kind of giving her the cold shoulder, and he would kind of like maybe avoid her or ignore her. So, Belle was like, I don't want to put up with that. And I think that that's fair. But at the same time, personally, Shaq's irregularity with his emotions is still not as bad as the way Sean moves. I still think Sean was not the right choice for Belle, and I stand by that. I think she will regret this decision, but we shall see. Okay, we see Shaq talking to one of the guys, and he basically says that he's done with Belle and that he's not second best. And in my head, I'm like, oh, Shaq. Like, he's just such a hypocrite. Like, what do you mean you're done, that this is it? Look at what he did to Helena. He was speaking with Helena. He was coupled up with Helena, entertaining AJ. He then got into a couple with AJ. Okay, AJ leaves the villa. Okay, he's back to Helena. And then all of a sudden, Belle starts showing Shaq attention. He's on to Belle. So Shaq wasn't thinking about Helena in that situation. And I'm sure Helena probably felt like second best, considering once other women showed interest in Shaq, he entertained that and then cut things off with her. But Shaq doesn't care about that, because it's obviously wrong when somebody does it to him. But he didn't really treat Helena in the best way. And I think very much kept Helena as a second choice. So Shaq, respectfully, shut up. Like, what are you talking about? He's a hypocrite. Then we basically see Shaq saying that after this, he can't be friends with Sean anymore because of what happened. And I'm like, how did Sean do you wrong in this situation? What did Sean do that was so bad in this situation that you can't be friends with him anymore? Another man in the villa can't like the same girl that you like. Are you being serious? And these are the behaviors from Shaq that, like, he's too much. Like, he needs to kind of, that ego, I don't know if it's an ego thing where he's like, another man can't like the same girl as me. He needs to chill out with his ego. The ego is too much. It's actually too much. You're just a man, and there are multiple men in that villa. Like, calm down. Okay. Then we see Sean and Tommy, and they're basically talking about Scott. And Sean is saying that he feels like Scott is always picking on him and doesn't really like how he speaks to him. Tommy's kind of agreeing. And, what I picked up on from that conversation is I just thought back to when Scott came in and really came for Sean. And I think that Sean hasn't really ever let that go. And it's pretty obvious that Scott probably doesn't like Sean. I mean, I also don't like Sean, so I don't really feel bad for him. But yeah, Scott shouldn't really be picking on him anymore. I think that, it's kind of getting to Sean a little bit. So yeah, but I mean, I got to keep it real. Like, I really don't like Sean. So in my opinion, I don't really feel bad for him. I don't really care, because I think Sean is not as nice as he seems. Those sweet candies that he sells, he's not a sweet man. Like, he's not a nice guy. I know that. And he just puts up this front. And I think that Scott kind of sees through that. So, yeah, respectfully, I don't even really care. I'm just like, whatever. Okay, then we see Sammy and Kieran talking. And Kieran basically just reassures Sammy that he's going to continue to get to know her. But I don't know. There's something about this situation with Lucinda now being in the picture. I get this strong sense that Kieran is just going to go for Lucinda. But we shall see. Okay, then we see Curtis and Millie, and they end up kissing. I don't want to be mean, but like, I really don't care for this couple. I like Millie a lot, but Curtis gives me the ick. I don't really know why they brought him back on this show. I'm sick of the dancing and the moving of the hips. He literally is just so cringe. And I don't want to be mean, but I don't really know how any woman could like him. Something about him is like, let me just leave it like that because I really don't want to say something terrible. But yeah, no. Curtis is a no. And if I'm being honest, I get the feeling that if they had brought in another guy along with Curtis as a bombshell, Millie probably would have preferred to be with someone else. I don't really think that Millie is even that into Curtis, but we shall see. I mean, she has to be in a couple. She wants to stay on Love Island, but I don't think Curtis is someone that she would really typically go for. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Curtis and Millie when they bring in another guy bombshell that could be Millie's type, because I get the feeling she'd be gone. That's my take on that. So Shaq and Belle get to speak, and I was surprised that Shaq actually handled this conversation pretty maturely. He says that he's happy if Belle is happy and that that's what he wants. Belle ends up like getting very emotional after this conversation. She is just crying a river with the girls in the dressing room. And I mean, even the way she's crying, you would think that her and Shaq broke up. I was like, damn, like the guy is still in the villa. Like, you will still see Shaq. Like, please stop crying. It was dramatic. Yeah, we also see Shaq also gets very emotional to the point that he has to like kind of walk outside the villa to just get some air. Yeah, and I feel for Shaq because I think he's just really frustrated that he didn't get picked. And I think that even him ending things with Helena, he was just like ready to just beeline for Belle. And I think he was excited to not be in any kind of triangle anymore. But, you know, I'm not the hugest fan of Shaq. So I'm like, well, it is what it is. You know how Whitney's charge it to the game, charge it. It is what it is. So, okay, we see Lucinda speaking to Scott and Shaq. And she basically says to them that, you know, Scott asked her a question about how she made the decision at the recoupling. And she says that she made it on the spot. And then, you know, Scott says something about how she was telling the girls in the dressing room that she was into Tommy, Jack, and Sean. So she never even mentioned Kieran. And then Lucinda basically says that she did that to throw everybody off, which is strange because I was like, okay, interesting. Who are you trying to throw off? And this is where I'm like, I don't know if Lucinda knows that this isn't Love Island Games. Like, this is Love Island All-Stars. I almost feel like her mind is still stuck in Love Island Games. Like, who's going to tell Lucinda that this isn't Love Island Games? Because I think she might be confused. Like, I'm all for coming in and bombshelling and doing what you need to do. But respectfully, she could have told the girls that she was interested in Kieran. Like, I don't really understand what kind of game Lucinda is playing. Like, but I actually do think she's doing a little too much. Like, you could have told them you fancy Kieran. It would have been okay. I promise you. Like, I don't know if she's doing a lot. So Whitney and Connor end up kissing. And I couldn't really tell how that went. Like, I was like, did Whitney enjoy that kiss? Because I know initially she had swerved Connor, and we'll see. But it seems like, you know, things are getting a little bit more romantic between them, that they are getting closer, but we shall see. Shaq and Belle have another conversation the day after they've cried all their tears and get everything out. And Shaq is basically telling Belle that no matter what, he is still interested, and that this situation just showed Shaq how much he really liked her. So, you know, obviously he wishes the best for her, but I think Shaq is just trying to let her know that, you know, that door is still, it seems like it's still open with Shaq. So we see Scott basically saying that he's doubting Sean's authenticity when it comes to Belle. And all I can say is, yeah, I feel the same exact way that Scott does. I'm doubting Sean's authenticity as well. I think that Belle choosing Sean was a mistake. I don't like Sean, because the way Sean goes after every bombshell that comes in and just has this sense of like, I feel like he's not getting the girls that he actually wants. So by default, he's ending up with these other girls. But I don't even know if he likes any of these girls he's ending up with by default, if you get what I'm saying. Because Sean, let's keep it a buck, he's not ever picked. Like, none of the girls he actually wants, Sammy, Millie, I think he was even interested in Jess at some point, none of them want his ass. And then he ends up with these other girls, right? And in my opinion, like, Belle is out of his league. And he even messed that up. So part of me is just like, he deserves no one. I'm so sorry, but I agree with Scott. I don't trust Sean at all. Okay, we see Kieran and Lucinda go to the terrace. And I was so interested to hear this conversation because I really wanted to see if their connection was different than what I see between Kieran and Sammy. And guys, it was. I was like, I knew it. Because when I see Kieran and Sammy talk, I don't know why, but it's giving like mates, like they're just friends or something. I felt like Lucinda and Kieran, I could feel the chemistry through the screen. I could feel, even the way Kieran was looking at Lucinda, I haven't seen him look at Sammy that way. I haven't. And it's giving, Kieran is a lot more interested in Lucinda than he is Sammy, in my opinion, like from what I can see through the screen, unless there's things, there's things with Sammy and Kieran that we haven't seen. But this one scene I see of Lucinda and Kieran, and I'm like, yeah, I can see the chemistry already, So in my opinion, Kieran's head is already gone. I don't think that, him and Sammy are going to work out after seeing the connection he has with Lucinda. I think he has a much better connection with Lucinda. I think that there's a lot more romantic chemistry there. Let me know what you guys think, but that's what I saw. So we see Scott basically tell the girls that Lucinda was trying to throw them off with some of the things she was saying about who she was interested in the villa based on the decision she made by choosing Kieran. And that's why all the people that, that during the recoupling, everybody was surprised she ended up with Kieran. We see that the girls are like really not happy to hear this. And, specifically Sammy is just like, what do you mean throw people off? Like, she's not happy. So basically, in the dressing room, Sammy is asking Lucinda what happened with her and Kieran on the terrace and if they kissed. Lucinda responds and says, I am not going to talk about that. Like, I'm not going to give those details. She's like, it doesn't mean that we kissed or didn't kiss, but I'm not going to go into details. And I was like, damn. Now, I'm not going to lie. Lucinda's doing a lot, guys. I don't really know what game she's playing here. I guess she came into the villa and decided she didn't want any girlfriends. But I do think she's doing a lot. Like, I don't think it would have been a problem to say that she kissed or she didn't kiss Kieran on the terrace, but I guess she didn't want to say that. So I find it interesting. I mean, obviously Sammy can also ask Kieran these details. Sammy and Lucinda end up talking, and Sammy also asks Lucinda about her saying that she told the girls one thing in the dressing room to throw them off about her decision to, eventually choose Kieran. Lucinda says she doesn't really remember saying that. Then they get into this conversation about some of the interactions on social media in the outside world, going to brand trips, something about how they were slagging someone out. I don't know. All this stuff and in my head, I was like, yeah, these two are not friends. So I don't know why Sammy tried to act like they were. Like, that is bizarre. Like, you're not friends. Like, clearly there's something that's gone on here. And I'm not going to lie, guys, it's making me look at Lucinda a little strange, because it seems like she also had a falling out with Millie. Now we're seeing she's also had some kind of falling out with Sammy. So I'm just saying, I've noticed this now twice with two different girls in the villa. I just find that to be a little bit strange, but I mean, I don't know what's going on there, but I just observed that, two different girls now, and there's some type of drama that's happened on the outside world. But yeah, I just had to get these thoughts out because this episode really irked me. Shaq is a hypocrite. Sean is annoying, and I don't trust him at all. And I don't know why he didn't go for Helena. The Helena that he said he wanted to have chosen him. He should have gone for his Helena. I don't get that, And then Belle, Belle is not playing this game very smart, in my opinion, because she should have left Sean alone. Like, Sean already kind of did you dirty the first time. You want him to do you dirty again? Guys, maybe Sean will surprise me and he won't do Belle dirty, but I don't have a lot of faith. I do not. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.